Prime Minister, it's at this time of year that our thoughts turn to our troops in Afghanistan, to the families and to those who've been bereaved. You've recently been to Camp Bastion. What's your message to service personnel and their families?
Well, my message is thank you. Thank you on behalf of the government. Thank you on behalf of the whole country. I think our troops serving in Afghanistan, they are the bravest of the brave. They should make everyone in our country proud. When I go and see them, not just in Camp Bastion, but in Lashkargah, and I went out to one of the patrol bases, you just see professionalism, dedication, bravery. What I think of when I think of our soldiers today is they're not only incredibly tough soldiers and brave and ready to fight, they're also brilliant diplomats. They've got to deal with people. They're incredible technical experts because of their equipment. They are such rounded and brilliant professionals that they make the whole country proud. And at this time, when it's really tough to be away from families and children and loved ones, and in tough conditions in Afghanistan, thank you for what you do. It is worth it. We are making progress. Making Afghanistan a country that can run itself and keep terrorists out will keep us safe too. So thank you, and what you're doing is right.
Previous Prime Ministers have talked about how committing troops to the front line has played on their conscience, and one in particular has spoken about how he's lost sleep over it at night. Have you lost sleep over it?
Of course, it's the biggest concern and worry that I have. It's the most important part of my job. Every time you think of what they're doing in Afghanistan, every time you sit down and write a letter to a grieving wife or father or mother or partner, you think really hard. Is what we're doing right? Can we succeed? Is it worth the sacrifice that we're making? And my answer is yes, it is, because Afghanistan was the cradle of terrorism. It was where the terrorist training camps were. It's where terrorists trained and came and blew up British people in this country and in America and elsewhere. And we've got to try and make sure that country can run itself and be free from terrorism. But it's incredibly tough and difficult job that we're doing. And I think very carefully about it, but I do think what we're doing is right.
You say you write to families who've been bereaved. You do that then. What else do you do?
Well, of course, every time there's a casualty, I'm informed about that, and obviously every time I write to the loved ones, and also it makes me think every time, is this worth it? Is this right? And one of the things, even before I was Prime Minister, I was concerned that our troops were overstretched in Afghanistan. We were too thinly spread, particularly after the American Marines came into Helmand. I thought it was right to change that, and that's why I insisted that we came out of Sangin, where we did a brilliant job, and the Americans now are continuing that brilliant job, and we have more troops concentrated in a smaller area, I think better to do what is necessary in terms of keeping the people safe, combating the Taliban, and allowing development to take place. So I have actually taken some action with the military to make sure we're better focused in Afghanistan, and I think that's right.
2015 is the date by which you say combat troops will have come home from Afghanistan, and sadly between now and then there will be fatalities. How will you reassure families to make sure that they don't feel that their lives have been lost in vain and that it has been a success?
Well, I think the measure of success is how quickly we can build up the Afghan National Army, the Afghan police and the Afghan government so they can take over from us. I mean, in the end, none of us want to see foreign troops in Afghanistan for an indefinite period. The Afghan government doesn't want that, the Afghan people don't want that, the British people don't want that. So success is that it's never going to be a perfect country, it's never going to be a perfect democracy, it's a desperately poor country with huge problems. But our definition of success is building up that army, that police force, that government, so that we can leave and hand over to them. And when you go to Afghanistan now, you see the Afghan National Army actually leading a lot of the operations. You do see British fantastic work in Helmand, training up the police force. So we're building that capacity, and as we build that up, we will be able to draw down our troops.
We've seen troops helping out in the terrible weather conditions in the UK at the moment, in Portsmouth and in Edinburgh. Would you like to see them used more?
Well, we have offered them to the British Airports Authority. Actually, we agreed that this morning, that we should ask BAA, do you want the assistance of British troops? We're very happy if that's what they want. I think BAA at the moment believe they can do the work themselves. But the British military do a fantastic job at helping with our national resilience, helping with our infrastructure. They've done that with the floods in Cumbria, as I saw myself, and they've done amazing work in the snow. They stand ready to do more. But obviously it's an offer we can make to organisations like BAA, and they have to decide whether that's right for them.